Good day, everybody. This is Yin Yang in California with Morsels of a Thought number 1650. I'm hoping you can see me today. I have the camera set up. So let's just leave it at that. The camera is indeed set up. I am going to read from the Tao Te Ching this morning. The Tao Te Ching was written 2,500 years ago by Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu was a philosopher. We call him that. And the Tao is the way. Tao Te Ching means the way, the script of the way, the scripture of the way. So that's what it is. Anyhow, we're going to read. I'm going to read without my glasses right now because I can't find them. Not that I really can't find them, it's that I set them down someplace on my way over here. In Morsels of a Thought of Wisdom, I try to give you something to think about day by day, morsels of a thought. And when we do these morsels of a thought, we think about things in steps. When we think about things in steps, we are able to think of the right things to do. We are also able to observe and judge whether the things we are planning to do are worthy of justice or virtue. We are trying to go for virtue. Virtue is what we need more of in this world because virtue affects the outer energy of the whole universe. And what we want is universal virtue and happiness, satisfaction, tolerance, or at least sufferance. So we want to go for all of these things. Okay, so I haven't learned very much in my life, but I have learned that other people are often more wise. And when you look at what other people are telling you out of their experiences and they're being genuine to you, you should pay attention. And so, what I'm trying to do is collect information that is actually more than information. I'm trying to collect wisdom, and we should pay attention to the things that I read to you. And when we do that, we devote a little bit of time every day in order to settle ourselves, ground ourselves. Okay? In number 28 of the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu writes, know the male, Know, yet keep to the female. Receive the world in your arms. If you receive the world, the Tao will never leave you, and you will be like a little child. Know the white, Know, yet keep to the black. Be a pattern for the world. If you are a pattern for the world, the Tao will be strong inside you, and there will be nothing you can't do. In other words, be a guide for others. If you are a guide for others, you will be strong, and there will be nothing you can't do. Know the personal, Know, yet keep to the impersonal. Accept the world as it is. If you accept the world, the Tao will be luminous inside you, and you will return to your primal self. In other words, you need to accept people who they are, things as they are. You have to accept people for who they are. And if you do accept the people for who they are and the things for what they are, the Tao will be luminous inside you. You will shine and you will return to your primal self. You will be grounded. The last part of it is the world is formed from the void, like utensils from a block of wood. The master knows the utensils, yet keeps to the block. Thus she can use all things. You need to know what you can do with everything you've got. I think the first part, I could have said something too, but it means that if you know the male and keep to the female and receive the world in your arms, don't ever be uppity. If you receive the world, the Tao will never leave you, and you will be like a little child. You will never be treated as though you were uppity, like you were too far above and too far superior, and you will never be hated. Children are not hated. Adults are the ones that are hated. So when you are, go back to it, if you receive the world, the Tao will never leave you, and you will be like a little child. That means that people will accept you if you are not uppity. We've read number 29 before. Let me see. I think I read it twice. I can read it again. Oh, we read it with the Ecclesiastes before. It was on in Morsels of a Thought number 1538. We read this on March 19th, but I'm going to read it again. Do you want to improve the world? I don't think it can be done. The world is sacred. It can't be improved. If you tamper with it, you will ruin it. If you treat it like an object, you will lose it. There is a time for being ahead, a time for being behind, a time for being in motion, a time for being at rest, a time for being vigorous, a time for being exhausted, a time for being safe, a time for being in danger. The master sees things as they are, without trying to control them. She lets them go their own way and resides at the center of the circle. The master stays grounded. Again, at the center of the circle, things can be whirling around. You're at the center of the whirlpool, the middle of the tornado. You're in the center of the storm. This reminds us of Ecclesiastes 1 through 8, chapter 3, verses 1 through 22, which I guess I can read again if you want me to. Let's do that. We go back to the Bible again for a little bit, and we get Ecclesiastes. Okay, Ecclesiastes, page 578. Okay. Will she ever reach that page? God damn it. This is excruciating. You want to know how excruciating it is? Try doing the rules. Okay. Morsels of a Thought. We are in Words and Wisdom Wednesday. This is Morsels of a Thought number 1650. I aim to bring you peace, harmony. I aim to bring you a great day with morsels of a thought of wisdom, because knowing the right things to do is a form of wisdom. And then actually going to do it are acts of virtue. Okay, so a time for everything. We'll read from Ecclesiastes just to get you into the gist of it, because the Tao is 500 years older than the Bible, if you want to think of it that way. But let's go to Ecclesiastes for a minute. Ecclesiastes introduction. Ecclesiastes studies the meaning of life. The teacher looks at wisdom, pleasure, work, power, riches, religion, and other things. All of these have some value and are useful in the proper time and place, but they have lasting value only if God is the center, is at the center of man's life. Reverence and respect for God and a real devotion in serving God are the most important in making life have meaning. Without God, the teacher says, everything is meaningless. And this is, I think, the New International Version. I'm not sure. Let me check. I always forget which version I'm reading. Yes, this is the New International Version. Okay. Anyway, a time for everything. Ecclesiastes, Book 3. Chapter, book, and verse. Chapter, Ecclesiastes, Book 3. There we go. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under heaven. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to uproot. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to tear down, and a time to build. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones, and a time to gather them. a time to embrace and a time to refrain, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. Okay, so we've read this again. We'll go back. Number 30. Whoever relies on the Tao in governing men, this is back to Lao Tzu 500 years earlier than the Bible. I cover the Bible because people will, let me tell you why I cover the Bible. It's because people will think of me as being strange if they think of me as of this religion and that religion, or not religion, or this other religion. Or if I had a Book of Mormon sitting in my house, it would be, for God's sake, nobody would want to see me anymore. Honestly, the Book of Mormon is good for Mormons, but I'm not a Mormon. And so for me to be identified as a Mormon hurts me in a way that it just offends me. I don't want to be identified as a Mormon. I don't want to be identified as a Jew. I love Jews. I love Mormons. I have friends that are Mormons and Jews, but I don't want to be identified. It's like saying my friend Ernest, who is Black. I I love Ernest as a friend, but I don't want to be called Black. I'm not Black myself. I am yellow. I don't want to be called white either because I'm yellow. That's how I identify myself. So with a cover on the book, it means that I've got covers on these books. None of these that offend are covered. I mean, uncovered. No, ah. Whoever relies on the Tao in governing men doesn't try to force issues or defeat enemies by force of arms. For every force, there is a counterforce. Violence, even well intentioned, always rebounds upon oneself. So, whoever relies on the Tao in governing men doesn't try to force issues or defeat enemies by force of arms. For every force, there is a counterforce. Violence, even well intentioned, always rebounds upon itself. I'm put into a corner right now because I must say that we are not doing the right thing in the United States as far as the rest of the world's eyes can see. And we're getting punished left and right by other forces in the world. Canada wants to make ties with Sweden and wants to cut off ties with the United States. North Korea and China, they're punishing us. So we're not being careful. We need to be careful. The master does his job and then stops. He understands that the universe is forever out of control and that trying to dominate events goes against the current of the Tao. Because he believes in himself, he doesn't try to convince others. Because he is content with himself, he doesn't need others' approval. Because he accepts himself, the whole world accepts him. What it means is you need to walk calmly and smoothly through life. It means that you need to not be a force of violence upon others, because you go and hit somebody in the face, what are they going to do? They're going to hit you back. What are you doing? Why are you hitting people? You can't go around punching people in the stomach. You go punching people in the stomach, they punch you right back and they kick you over and they probably kill you if you do it often enough. So what we're doing in the world right now, I think, is really awful. Honestly, I really think what we are doing as a country in the United States is no good. I honestly think that as a populace, we're really, really needing to ask for change. Like, what the hell are you doing, governor? Not governor, president. President is what I'm talking about. Some governors and some presidents. I hate talking about politics because it gets me upset, and it doesn't do anybody any good because talking doesn't do any good anyway. But if you take some action, organize a little, write an essay, send it out to people, the pen is mightier than the sword anyhow. So, well, we've got a lot to think about. So what I'm doing is I'm reading from the Tao Te Ching today by Lao Tzu. He wrote this in 500 BC. I'm hearing a car alarm going off, and I'm wondering if it's my own car alarm. Um, Sorry. So I'm reading from this so that we can give you some things to think about, morsels of a thought. I often try to collect wisdom rather than knowledge. Wisdom is where people have gone through their lives and told you their experiences and told you what was right and what was wrong in their experience. And what we take on as our experience, we can do acts of virtue if we know the right things to do. Knowing the right things to do is a form of wisdom. That's different from knowledge, way better than knowledge. Morsels of a thought is to bring you sculpted, never mind. She is who is centered in the Tao. Number 35. She who is centered in the Tao can go where she wishes without danger. She perceives the universal harmony even amid great pain because she has found peace in her heart. Music or the smell of good cooking may make people stop and enjoy, but words that point to the Tao seem monotonous and without flavor. When you look for it, there is nothing to see. When you listen for it, there is nothing to hear. When you use it, it is inexhaustible. Number 36. If you want to shrink something, you must first allow it to expand. If you want to get rid of something, you must first allow it to flourish. If you want to take something, you must first allow it to be given. This is called the subtle perception of the way things are. The soft overcomes the hard. The slow overcomes the fast. Let your workings remain a mystery. Just show people the results. And here's a painting. I haven't shown you some paintings. Here's a painting. Isn't it beautiful? I think it's very nice. The the act of painting in Chinese art, it's not as simple as it seems. Every single stroke is a single brush stroke. You're not allowed to go back over it, and you're not allowed to go backward on it. So every single stroke is done once. So if you see a line, it means that the brush was given exactly enough paint to make that line that long. And if you see a curve, that's the same thing. That amount of paint was put into ink was put into the brush to make it exactly that long. And every incomplete line is deliberate. So looking at a painting, it's not just as looking at a Western painting. You can't go back and forth with a brush. You just go forward only with the brush. Okay, just to let you know. And the direction of the brush is often the most important part. Okay, let's see more. Let's see more of this. We've read some. Here's a dragon I can show you. And the same thing with the brush. It's just one stroke all the way through each way. Each way, every single line is a single stroke. Uh, enough ink on the brush that's determined by the painter. Okay. All right, and another one. Here's one of people. Imagine that. Look at that. Look at this. This is look at the cheeks on the person's face. Can you see that? I can't tell if I can show you the whole thing, but anyway. I'll read you this poem and then we will call it a day. This is number 41 of the Tao Te Ching. When a superior man hears of the Tao, he immediately begins to embody it. When an average man hears of the Tao, he half believes it, half doubts it. When, oh, by the way, when I heard of the Tao, I looked at it and I said, I want to do that, exactly that, for the rest of my life. That's exactly what I said. When a foolish man hears of the Tao, he laughs out loud. Like that. Can't stand those people. If he didn't laugh, it wouldn't be the Tao. So I know which people I can handle in life. There I am. Can I really handle them? I laughed, didn't I? Thus it is said, the path into the light seems dark. The path forward seems to go back. The direct path seems long. True power seems weak. True purity seems tarnished. True, like patina. True steadfastness seems changeable. True clarity seems obscure. The greatest art seems unsophisticated. The greatest love seems indifferent. The greatest wisdom seems childish. The Tao is nowhere to be found, yet it nourishes and completes all things. So when a superior man hears of the Tao, he immediately begins to embody it because he recognizes it as something that will give him aspiration for the rest of his life. And when he knows that there's a great aspiration in his life, he knows that he has something to live for every day of his life from now on, especially when it's a big goal. When it's a very big goal and it accompanies what's the word I'm trying to find? Never mind. It's a very big goal. My goal, for example, is to bring more virtue into the universe. And lucky for me, lucky, lucky for me, I can come to you every morning of the day, every morning of my life. So far, I've come to you 1,650 times. And that's not even counting correctly because there was an A, B, C, D, and E, and in one case, F and G and H. So there were more times than that. I've turned on the camera. A few times I've gone and erased something because I was ashamed to say I was homeless. At one time, number 8, I think it was number 8 or 18, or it was number 8. I was ashamed to say that I was homeless, and I said it or hinted or really remarked upon it and made it known in the video. So I went back and erased it. Sad. So later I said, no, that's not right. And so I remade it. And it's there somewhere. If we used AI, we could find out everything I've said. So I think I'll do that sometime. Wait, when a superior man hears of the Tao, he immediately begins to embody it. So let's try to do that. When an average man hears of the Tao, he half believes it and half doubts it. That's okay. When a foolish man hears of the Tao, he laughs out loud. Or maybe he's a really hilarious person. We don't know. Okay, so here we are. We have read through the Tao Te Ching through number 41. And I will talk to you again later. Take care. Okay, old Kinderhook. Old Kinderhook.